Hello folks, in today's video we are going to talk about security groups. We are going to talk about what they are, how to configure them, how to use them effectively, and what are the best practices. So let's say first of all that how they are situated in the overall scheme of things in AWS. Even before that, let's understand what is security group. Security group is basically a basic firewall around your systems. This controls what goes into the EC2 instances and what goes out of it. That means what kind of traffic using which port and protocol and from which source is allowed to enter into an instance, and what kind of port and protocol and the destination it is allowed to go out of the instance. Though we are here talking about EC2 instances, but security groups are also attached to other entities like RDS, like Redshift, and various other services. So let's see it first from the EC2 instance perspective. And then as we go along and read about other services, we'll see how to attach it with those services. So security groups are attached to instances. More than one security group can also be attached to a same instance. And in that case, EC2 instance will follow the union of those security group rules. Now what is rules? Basically, security groups are made up of two types of rules, inbound rules and outbound rules. Inbound rule dictates that the traffic from which source is allowed on the system and traffic on which protocol and which port is allowed to enter into the system. On the other hand, outbound rules defines that what kind of traffic is allowed to go outside the system and to where. So what is the destination of the traffic and using which port and protocol it is going outside the system. So by default, all the inbound traffic is denied in the system. So you have to create rules to allow traffic inbound to the system and outbound from the system. When I say system here, I mean instance. So ultimately, security group is nothing but a set of inbound and outbound rules. When you associate a particular security group to an EC2 instance, these rules will start applying immediately on the EC2 instance, or for that matter any other service. So suppose you have attached a particular security group with an EC2 instance and you change the rule after associating it, then those modified rules will immediately have an impact on that particular EC2 instance. Now there are some limitations as well of security group. For example, you can just allow some traffic coming to that EC2 instance. You cannot deny a traffic coming or going out of the system. This is also because of the reason that by default everything is already denied. But having said that, suppose you want to allow everyone but a particular IP address, a particular system. So you cannot block an individual IP address to send some traffic towards your EC2 instance. There are mechanisms to do that, but it's not via security group. We'll be seeing the VPC networking part, and there we have got a service called Network Access Control List. Using that, we can do all these things that we are talking about. So to reiterate, you cannot create a rule for denying a traffic. You can create a rule for allowing traffic only in the security group. By default, everything is already denied. So security groups are mandatory to be associated with an EC2 instance. As soon as you launch an EC2 instance, if you remember, we have to associate a particular security group with that EC2 instance. And going forward, whenever you have got some problem with connecting to an EC2 instance, your first doubt should always be the security group configuration, especially your inbound rules. One of the most important property of the security group is that these are stateful. What it means is that if you have allowed a particular inbound traffic using some inbound rule, then its response would automatically be allowed whether you have put it in the outbound rules or not. Similarly, if there is an outbound traffic allowed, then its response which is coming inbound to the system, that will be by default allowed. It doesn't then takes care of the inbound rules which are configured in your security group. So having said that, let's go and find out how to create a security group. Now you can create security group in two ways. While creating some services, whenever you need to attach a security group, sometimes many services give an option to create security group or add inbound rules, outbound rules, etc. in the same page, like while launching EC2 instance. But if you want, you can create security group independently as well, and later on as the need arises, you can attach that particular security group along with your services. So let's go to our EC2 dashboard, and here under the network and security we'll find security group. Let's go there and create a security group. So here I'm going to write here the name of security group. You can write a description. You also need to tell that what is a VPC associated with this. So what is VPC? VPC is similar to your virtual private network in on-premise ecosystem. The counterpart of this on the cloud is VPC, which is virtual private cloud. So whenever you create these kind of resources like EC2 Instance, security group or route tables, you basically create it within a virtual private cloud always. So you can create your own VPC, or you can use a default VPC in every region created by AWS itself. So I'll go with my default VPC, and now here I can add rule. So first field tells you what kind of traffic you are going to allow. So you can select any of these based on what is the need. For example, if you want to access this system using SSH rule, using something like PuTTY etc., or some terminal access using SSH EC2-user @ public IP etc., then you have to select here SSH. SSH work on port number 22, so it already gets filled. You can make the source as anywhere. In that case, any IP address or any system with this IP address will be able to connect to this. You can select the source to be a particular IP address. Say I want to give 15.23.56.32. I can give it to be a particular system using something like say 32, or I can give a CIDR block of a particular VPC or a particular security group by providing the range or the CIDR block of that particular VPC or subnet. So if I got a subnet something like 15.23.56.32, or it would be something like 0/24, this means all the IP addresses, or in fact all the servers with the IP addresses of which 24 bits are similar to this, they can come and connect to your system using SSH protocol. Having said that, they need to have proper authentication mechanism like your PEM key etc. So the source could be a particular IP address, it could be a range of IP address, it could be a security group, or a customized IP address range. So if I want that anyone having proper authentication mechanism should get connected to this particular instance using SSH protocol, then I can select anywhere. 0.0.0.0/0 basically tells you a universal IP address, which means any and every IP address. So this is very important. If you don't know that, we'll keep on using this kind of things throughout the series. Whenever you talk about an IP address range which includes every IP address, then we have to give 0.0.0.0/0 for IPv4 and :/0 for IPv6 type of addresses. So in a nutshell, this particular rule says any server from anywhere can connect to this machine using SSH protocol and port number 22. Similarly, suppose you want to create this security group for a web server. So in a web server, you understand that you need to allow HTTP and HTTPS traffic. So for that, you might want to keep this rule if you also need SSH access to your web server, but additionally you also have to create HTTP based rules or HTTPS based rules. So since it's a web server, so you need to allow anyone to access from anywhere, and also you need to additionally apply HTTPS based rules and make it anywhere. Now if you want to allow all the traffic, then you can go here and select all traffic. This will give you a port range from 0 to 65535, which is maximum port number possible, and you can say that okay, anywhere, anyone from anywhere can connect to this. So this rule is quite flexible. It is not recommended to use this particular rule because what you are saying is that you are opening up your system for anyone to access on this. So it's never suggested to use this particular rule. Once your rule is created, you can just save this and in this case create this particular security group. You can also give, by the way, the description about these rules, why you are using them, but they are again optional. Now thinking about web server, you might want to enable SSH traffic for some maintenance activity and HTTP and HTTPS based protocol for your end user clients. So for SSH protocol, I may not want to open it for everyone. So here I can give either the custom IP address or I can give my IP. So this basically took IP of my laptop and it kept it there. Now this looks easy, but if you are using it in your system, every time your public IP, the public IP of your laptop may change, and so be informed that if you are using this my IP, it may work for some time, but as soon as your laptop's IP changes, this you need to come and manually change it. Otherwise, you'll face connectivity issues with your EC2 instance to which you have attached this security group. So I can create it like this. So since I already have another test security group with the same name, so it is denying to create it, I can just change the security group name and create it. So here you see I've created test sec group and I can see the inbound rules that we gave it. Now sometimes people may ask that what is this other rule? So the first rule is about the IPv4 form of address and this one is for IPv6 addresses. Now in outbound rules, by default security group allows every kind of traffic in outbound. Having said that, you can go and change that. You can change your outbound rules in the same way that you change your inbound rules. So I'm going to cancel it. You can put some extra labels out here. So every time you create a security group, basically it also provides your security group ID. This will be useful when you create a security group using command line interface and want to use this particular security group using AWS commands. You also might need it to give the source in your inbound rules. Remember, in the source part, we could also give security group ID. Now, how to use it? Let's go and see how to use it while launching the EC2 instance. So on EC2 dashboard, if I go and launch an EC2 instance, select ec2.micro. This is the normal configurations, selecting your network, etc. We just need to keep an eye on the VPC, etc. that we are using. This VPC has to be the same VPC in which we have created the security group. Next, next, and next. This is where we attach security group with our EC2 instance. So you can create a new security group here itself, or you can select an existing group. So in our case, we are going to select the one that we created. So here it is. You can just select it and you can see all the inbound rules by default and you can go ahead and launch it. So now if I launch it, my new EC2 instance will have this security group attached, and any inbound and outbound traffic going in EC2 instance or going out of it will follow these inbound and outbound rules. So I'm going to cancel it this one. Having said that, you can see your running instances and you can see your security groups here. Launch Wizard 6 is basically a security group, and you can see the corresponding inbound rules by clicking on this. So in this security group, they have just allowed port number 22, which is for SSH, which is a TCP type of protocol, and this particular source. In fact, they have allowed all the ports and all protocols on that particular system, which is again a very bad security setting. So by default, you won't be able to see the outbound rules, but if you want to see that, just click on this link and go to this outbound tab to see what are the rules applied on outbound. So by default, whenever you create a security group, all the outbound traffics are allowed in outbound rules. That's all for this section. Going forward, when we learn about other services and say launch a web server using EC2, we'll keep looking on this security group and how to modify it. So see you in the next session. Thank you for watching.